Hello, I'm Donna Skell, along with my co-host Tiffany Ross. Welcome to A Time to Dream. Time to Dream is brought to you by Roaring Lambs Ministries, and we're here to help you effectively tell your story about what God has done in your life. And we're real excited about our guest this morning. So let me ask you a question. First of all, death is a real part of life, but not one that most of us want to think about. Our guest today has experienced a lot of loss in her family multiple times, and it could have really wrecked her emotionally, but she is here to bring a message of hope. So have you dealt with any death in your family? You're really going to want to listen today. Welcome, Joleen Mullins, to A Time to Dream. We're happy to have you here today.
Thank you.
Joleen is a certified elementary and special education teacher with a bachelor's degree from Texas A&M. She describes herself as just a girl from Garland who has been given a vision from God. And this vision started in 1994, and now with her husband, Andy, Virtuelise, right here, our second guest on our show today. He is a superhero for virtues, and he's been brought to life in videos and in her book, which you can see right here, entitled Virtuelise and Thinking with Your Heart, with the alphabet, rap, and rhyme, where he encourages children to think about what it means to be good. So again, welcome to A Time to Dream. We're glad to have you on our show. And we always like to start at the beginning. So let's go back a little bit and tell us about your childhood and growing up.
Just a girl from Garland. I was raised in Garland, Texas. I'm the baby girl of 4 older brothers that range from 15 to 8 years older than myself. Just raised in a very loving Christian home with my parents. Struggled financially, which I was never really aware of it. Always had everything I really needed. And, then looking back, there was a lot of coupon cutting and Sears credit card and the blessings of God. Yeah. So it was a loving home.
Great.
Joleen, yes, and I can relate to that because I was raised in a Christian home and just had good, decent values and loving mother. But where our stories are different, I didn't have my dad in the home, but you did. However, you had a unique experience with your dad in the home as a child. Could you explain that?
My father was sick from the age of I was 2 years old. He had had half a lung removed. His health was declining. He had emphysema, asthma, and at the end tuberculosis that he passed when I was 12. And just in and out of hospitals on oxygen tanks, and it left a huge void in our family.
Yes, and age 12 is such a pivotal year.
Yeah.
And so I imagine just emotionally, you must have isolated yourself, and how did you deal with that?
Looking back, when you're 12, it just is your life, and, a lot of grief, and there was a lot of guilt, too, being a child, thinking, I wish I had kissed my dad one more time. I mean, you're a child, you're running out to play, not realizing, my dad was in and out of hospitals a lot, not even thinking he wasn't coming back. So I lived with that guilt, I think, my entire life, wondering, tomorrow is my mother going to be gone? So your concept of security disappears. I did have older brothers, but they had their own lives, but they looked after me as much as they can, but this security of parents that I never, once he's gone, I think death becomes just a forefront in your life.
Joleen, my mom ironically lost her dad when she was 12. And she's in her 70s now, and to this day, when she talks about him, she weeps because she feels a bit robbed that she didn't have him growing up. And then talking about the guilt that you felt, and I should have kissed him one more time, I should have, or behaved a little better that day.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But so when I think about that, I think about, Jesus in your life, and though, we know God as best we do at 12,
Right.
but surely he was a comfort, I would think, during that time, just knowing that you had Jesus with you.
Well, he's
not?
been in my life, my whole life, and I was raised in the Christian church in Garland, Texas, and went to Vacation Bible School and was baptized at the age of 9. He's never not been in my life. So just being able to always go to God and pray and ask for comfort, and the way my mother raised me also in my faith has been a tremendous support, even constantly, consistently through my life.
Wow. So what were your teenage years like? What did you like to do, and what were those like?
Oh, I took dance lessons. My mother made sure that I never lacked in opportunities, though she had never worked, just because you didn't back then. She had no real skills, so she worked in school cafeterias to be home with me at the time I got out of school, so she could take me to things and be with me. So I was able, to try out for cheerleader or be on drill team and study hard. So, and then at this point, my brothers were older and married during their own lives, so my mother and we were each other's world, basically. So I had your typical, I guess, normal childhood through the teens, with the lack of parent on my father's influence, but overall, I was overcompensated with love from my brothers and my mother.
That's
So that was a
neat.
blessing.
And so after you graduated school, you went into teaching.
As a little girl, which I'm sure a lot of us have at some point, when you come home from school, you set up your little chalkboard, and I'd make my mother
Yes.
pull up a chair and a TV tray
Yep.
and pretend to be one of my students. So I've always loved, teaching and being with kids. I love children. I've been an aunt since I was 7.
Wow.
Unfortunately, I never had any of my own. It wasn't my path, but I always wanted to be a teacher. And special education, I felt like was even a bigger calling, because I have the heart for, as many people do, those that are even less fortunate. And also, my mother wanted to be sure, when my girlfriends were graduating and going to be flight attendants or whatever at that time, that I got a degree in something that no matter where I was in my life,
Yes.
I could get a job.
Smart.
Whether what journey, what state, what years, because she wasn't able to do that. And she said, Joleen, there will always be a need for teachers, because there will always be children. So
Good point.
it was a twofold blessing for sure.
And we talked in your introduction about losing several family members. So not only your dad, but 2 of your brothers
Yes.
also went to be with the Lord.
Unfortunately, I had one of my brothers succumb to alcoholism, and it was quite a struggle and a journey for all of us. Unfortunately, he passed away at the age of 46 in 1991, so that was very difficult. And okay, I'll just cry. We might as well just tell everybody I'll cry through all this as we're talking. And then he was my 3rd brother in line of age, and then I lost in 2020 in January my 2nd oldest brother to Alzheimer's, and I was the family member that was with him in the hospital the last couple days that he had any kind of coherency of anything. And that is a horrifying disease, as many are, and
How old was he when he went
he was
through that?
73.
73.
It was
That's
just,
young.
Yeah.
and they all, my brothers all have families and stuff, and it's been difficult and brings up a lot of those other emotions where you tuck that grief into a pocket somewhere in your heart, and you just keep going. So, then in 1996, I lost my mother. So,
Let's talk about your mom, because she's a big part of this. She was part of you at the beginning stages of this journey.
yes.
And I would love to hear just, you had to move, or you didn't have to, but you really felt the Lord called you. So tell us
Yes.
the whole story about that journey.
Okay. Through my career paths, I have taught some. I also have experienced different avenues, careers. And in 1987, I moved to Los Angeles because I wanted to experience the entertainment industry and do different things in my life. And so I was out there until 93, and I literally woke up one day to go to work, and I had the calls, inner calls from God, because you can't Skype. You know, you got to listen to him. You know, you think, what's that voice? Well, you know, you can't video you. So, and I had a push to move back to Garland. And I called my mother, and we're so close. And at this point, she was 74. She goes, I said, I'm coming home. And she was shocked. She goes, Wayne, at this point in my life, it was logically the wrong time for me to come back. I had a good job. I had met someone. I love Los Angeles. And I just called her. She goes, I'm healthy. Don't worry about me. You don't need to come home. I said, I have to come home. She goes, okay, well, what are you going to do? And I said, well, just move in with me, the house I grew up in Garland, and we'll figure it out. And this has kind of been through my life, those instincts or the phone call from God that I just do. And mother's never questioned it because she grew up with me just going, just do it. Whatever she, go for it. So I packed up stuff, and I was literally in my apartment going, okay, I'm packing boxes. God, can't you see me? If you can get me there faster, please do. I'm trying, you know. And I got home to Garland and cried because I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. You know, I was just sitting in Garland. And so in the meantime, back spending time with my mother, and I was at a temp job working, and I saw this magazine article about William Bennett Book of Virtues for Children. And I was reading, and I thought, that's a wonderful idea, but it's very grown up. I mean, in trying to reach children that are toddlers or younger, and they need something more whimsical and fun to promote virtue and values in their life. And from that moment on, I could not sleep. I had visions of this character, and God was calling me, and I drew this little character. I'm like, what is he supposed to look like? Virtues and from virtue, and it grew from all these thoughts. I literally could not sleep. And I have enough little skills to do all these things. I'm not proficient at anything by any means, but I draw a little, and then I'd write a little, and then I'm like, okay, where is he supposed to be from? Okay, he's from a star virtuous. And this whole concept and story, I am the vessel for this vision of Virtues to help children to learn about virtue and goodness. And I was working on that. My mother was thrilled, helping me, whatever. And then in 1996, she became ill. And in March on my 40th birthday, she was diagnosed with acute leukemia and given 3 weeks to live. And right before she passed, okay, this is why I'm going to cry even harder, everyone that's listening, that she said, Joleen, you are to do Virtues because that's what God's given you, and it will be successful. And so I actually, in my mother's last bed, her coffin, have a little picture of Virtues that she went with, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay, you got to help me now because I'm just crying. I can't keep going. I'm just crying. So
it's so needed in today's world. You know, today's world is so different from when we grew up. You know, today it's all about if it feels good, do it, and it's all about me. And just to take the time to remind children about virtues. I know in the book you have a little rap song that
Yes.
Yes.
near the very end.
Yes, Virtualese is quite a journey since 1994 to now in its development stages. And I actually taught special ed out in South Central Los Angeles one year in the 2001, and I was out there, and then that's when God called me to develop the alphabet rap, which is taking the letters from the alphabet and giving them something about caring or courageous. And so the alphabet rap with Virtualese.
All right.
Okay, here we
All
go. So in Virtualese style, here we go. I will try my. Hi everybody, I'm Virtualese. Accept all people, behave with delight, caring and courageous, do what's right. Everyone is special, friends and family too. Good to your neighbor, how about you? I'm an honest kid, just watch and see. Kind and fair, law is for me. Make the world a nicer place to live. Overcome the bad, pleased to help and give. Quick to lend a hand, respect others too. Smart in school, teach me something new. Up with morals, values add a lot. We all have a heart. X marks the spot. You can make a difference, zero attitude, A through Z, being smart and good.
I love it. And in your book, and also on YouTube, you take each one of those virtues and you delve into it a little deeper.
Yes.
Which I love. Yeah.
Yes, and you met your husband Andy in 2006, and now you both do it together,
Yes,
right?
we do.
That's wonderful.
2019, we started doing videos at home. Everything's very home done because our quest has been funded by us, and through the Lord blesses us. God is here everywhere. So it's Andy now with his help, and we do different puppets and voiceover and stuff. We have 30 online videos for free. They're at our website, virtandme.com. Virt is short for Virtualese, so it's V-I-R-T and me, because I'm the part of it as a teacher. And we take the letters of the alphabet, and it's fun and whimsical, but there's also stories dealing with the different situations. And then Andy's part of it. We also teach like recycling, which is being kind to the environment. So it's all, whatever story or lesson we're telling, all comes back to the fact of thinking with your heart. And that's the core meaning behind Virtualese, whose heart name means good heart. Everything is thinking with your heart when you do it. When you talk to people, would I pick that up off the floor? Think with my heart and be caring about that. So I hope you'll, delve into the videos. And the book is for sale on Amazon. I did self-publish it. It's also, you can find the link on the website, Virtualese with the alphabet rap and rhyme. And it truly is about just getting the word out to every child, no matter the denomination, the race. It's about being good. That's what virtue is. And as they grow up, so that our country can take a different path, I think, with the generations of kindness and empathy and compassion.
Yes.
So I know this is a faith-based show, and
Yes.
I know that you love Jesus.
Yes.
And so when you have the opportunity to go to churches or Christian camps or Christian schools, these are great places to invite Joleen to come and speak, because it's really about being a good person, but it's also about being a good child of God, because God is the one who gave Joleen this whole thought process, this whole book, this character, everything, and she desires to honor God by teaching children about virtues. All the virtues are spelled out in the Bible, and again, she can do it secularly because it's about being a good person, but she can also tie it to Scripture and use it for God's glory by ending up with really sharing how much He means to her in her life.
And children, the Christian children, once they know Virtualese, they can share it with their friends that are maybe non-Christians.
Yes.
And, you know, I mean, because we all have to spread the word amongst, that can be their calling to spread their joy and learning about virtue with the other children that aren't aware of any of this without having to be a more whimsical, fun approach on a child level.
Right.
And you know, it really is. It's God.
Yes.
It's His virtue. And you think about the kids that might not know. It's a little more covert, but it's even softening their heart towards Him.
Yes.
When His message comes.
Yes.
Which is great. And so this time has flown by with you and virtually. But if you would, Joleen, in these final moments, what final thoughts would you like to leave with our listeners today?
You know, to walk in my faith is what I do, and to walk when the path is not clear, because there is a reason for everything, whether we ever see it or not, you know, immediately, that there is, just to walk in your faith. And the biggest one was when I moved my whole life to be with my mother, you know, out of no logical reason, and then got to spend time with her, plus the Lord was able to use me as a vessel for Virtualese.
Yes.
And our goal is, through God's goal, is to get him out there. I need a path to open up for Virtualese.
Yeah, it would be great if God always just drew the map of our lives and we can just go through it, but He doesn't do that. But He does give you the next step. But part of that process is really listening and following God, getting into His Word and see how He speaks to you through His Word, or through your church, or through other believers that He puts into your life. He will speak to you. And again, I'm excited about this because I think this is tremendous. I think this needs to be in every school. It needs to be in every public school. It needs to be in every Christian school. It needs to be in every camp. It needs to be wherever children are, so that they can learn about how to be a good human being. Nobody's teaching them that.
Right.
They're not learning that in school, and parents can teach it, but it helps to have something as memorable as a beautifully illustrated book or a character to really make it real. So again, if you want to reach out to Joleen, you can find her at virtandme.com, and we hope that you'll take the time to do that. Now, Virtualese is very important to Joleen, but there's someone that's far more important to Joleen than Virtualese, and that is Jesus Christ. She was fortunate to be raised in a Christian home. She came into a personal relationship with Jesus at a young age, but maybe that's not your case. It wasn't my case. I didn't grow up in a Christian home. I didn't come to know Jesus as a child. But it's never too late. It's never too late to say to God, Lord, I want to give you my life, because you can do far more with it than I can. You can direct my path. You can use the talents and the gifts that you have given me. You can best place those, and I want to follow you. You know, God sent His only Son, Jesus Christ, to come live on the earth in a human form so that He could experience all the emotions that we experience. He could live life as a human. And when He died, He did not stay in the grave. God rose Him from the dead, and He's in heaven on the right hand of God the Father. But He knows what we're dealing with on earth. And again, He wants to help us through all the hard times. He wants to rejoice with us in the good times. I think about how He let Joleen know it was time to go home, and how she doesn't have to live with any regrets about not spending that time with her mom before He took her mom home. And there may be something coming up in your future, and God wants to let you know that it's coming, The only way he can do that is if you are in right relationship with him, if you will accept the free gift of salvation that he's giving to you. He's holding out his hand to you. He wants you to put your hand in his and walk through this life together. And we want to give you that opportunity to do that today. So no magic words, in your own words, just say, God, I want to know Jesus Christ. I want to give my life to you. I want to receive his free gift of forgiveness for every bad thing I've ever done, so that I can come into right relationship with you. And I thank you that I am a child of God. And if you do that, again in your own words, you will experience all that God has for you. We'd love to hear from you as well. If you'd like to email us, you can email us at atimetodream@gmail.com. If you have questions or want to know more about Jesus, Tiffany and I would love to speak to you. You can call us at 972-380-0123. And don't forget to reach out to Joleen at vertandme.com. So I'm Donna Skell, and for myself and my co-host Tiffany Ross, again, thank you for listening to A Time to Dream. We hope you have a great week. Keep dreaming, and may God richly bless you.